The United States Supreme Court conservatives, and there's nothing conservative about them at this point in time, they appear willing to blunt key Voting Rights Act provision. Tyrone Bowman live. Let's talk about it. According to Reuters, and here's the summary, the Voting Rights Act bars racial discrimination in voting. Supreme Court hears a Louisiana case for a second time. And Republicans could benefit if the Voting Rights Act is undercut. That seems to be the underlying purpose and agenda going into the midterm 2026 elections, redistricting all across the board, trying to stop Black people from voting. Let's just tell it the way it is, because they know when we vote in large numbers, and we vote according to what's going to benefit us. So the conservative United States Supreme Court justices signaled their willingness on Wednesday during arguments in a case involving Louisiana electoral districts to undercut a key section of the Voting Rights Act, the landmark 1965 federal law enacted by Congress to prevent racial discrimination in voting. Arguments in the case focused on the Voting Rights Act Section 2, which prohibits electoral maps that will result in diluting the clout of minority voters, Black voters. We can put it the way it is. Reuters, you cannot dress this up. Black voters, even without direct proof of racist intent. Section 2 gained greater significance as a bulwark against racial discrimination in voting after the court in a 2013 ruling authored by conservative Justice John Roberts gutted a different part of the same law. Let's put this in ordinary terms. They want to stop Black people from voting. And in order to do that, they got to find a clever but illegal way to justify the plan for redistricting the districts and impose stricter guidelines and limitations under the guise of they're trying to prevent corruption. Well, there seems to be more corruption when it comes to voting on their part instead of Black people. I know when I go to vote in the voting booth, they ask for all kinds of ID. And then they're shocked when I have it. I said, why are you surprised? Didn't you ask for it? You asked for several pieces of ID. I gave them to you, and you're still not happy. Because they're trying to undermine, they're trying to undercut every gain that was made during the civil rights movement. Because they're pissed. And the name of the game is create misery upon misery and more misery, because that way we tell people, well, we're looking out for your best interest. How could you be looking out for the best interest of people when you're so afraid of the midterm elections and the trajectory swinging the Senate and the Congress? Because y'all know you're in big trouble going into the midterm elections. So, but you want all the MAGA Republicans on the Supreme Court to do things that justify your actions. Quote, this court's cases is a variety of contexts have said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, sometimes for a long period of time, decades in some cases, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an end point. Conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh told Jania Nelson, president of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, who was arguing on behalf of a group of Black voters. Well, why were there restrictions put in place to begin with? Let's go down to the deep, deep racist South. When Black people wanted to vote, the KKK, the Night Riders, set their houses on fire at night, burned crosses, and called themselves Christians. I don't know what kind of Christian God you call yourself serving. Set their schools on fire, set their churches on fire, had all types of stupid litmus tests, and the illiterate people who were trying to get them to get them to make sure that they were legally voting. They couldn't even spell the word vote themselves. All types of games were played. All types of restricting voting measures were put in place in this nation in an attempt to stop black people from voting. So all these people come from all these other countries and migrate here to America. Our people fought the battles. Our people fought the wars. Our people were on the forefront. And then you all have a nerve to call us lazy. You out of your damn mind. You come here with your self-entitled selves. You get all types of benefits, welfare benefits, moving benefits. You get housing benefits. You get food stamps benefits. They even put money in your bank account when you come here. And then you get mad when we tell you about the historical significance of the Voting Rights Act. No, I'm not going to ever let people forget about the civil rights movement. We're going to talk about it. I don't care how much you all hate the term woke. You're not going to erase real, true history just to make you feel better. But there's one group of individuals they don't ever attack. There's one group of individuals they don't ever talk about. They never come against them because you know the ADF, the ADL will be all over your behinds. You know it. And you go try to restrict their voting rights and tell them that we're going to redistrict your districts. Try telling that to them and watch what happens. According to the article, those black voters appealed a lower court's finding that a voting map that added a second black majority congressional district in Louisiana was guided too much by racial considerations in violation of the constitutional promises of equal protections under law. Really? Well, what about what happened down in Texas? You don't tell me that was racially motivated? What about what's happened across the nation? The redistricting maps are being drawn just before the midterm 2026 elections. You're trying to tell us it's not race-based? Yes, it is. Patented, old-fashioned, outright racism involved by white racist governors. And then when people call you out on it, you don't like it. You're trying to say, well, they want to always talk about race. You're doing right, we're going to talk about race because systemic racism is real. Overt racism is real. The KKK is still real. What do you think the Proud Boys are and all these other boys? They're the modernized version of the KKK rebranded. That's who they are. The map was approved by the Republican-led state legislature after a judge ruled that an entire map that had just one black majority district likely harmed black voters in violation of Section 2. The map was approved by the Republican racist state legislature down in Louisiana, trying to stop black people from voting. Why is it that the only people they want to attack in this nation is black people? They don't want to attack no other group of people but black people. And then when we stand up and we voice opposition against it, then y'all got a nerve to talk about, well, why are black people so angry? Why are you white people so racist? Some of y'all. Why? You damn right we're going to stand up and fight against it. We're not going to take it lying down because we're not going back. And that ain't a slogan. That's a real fact. We're not going back to the days of Jim Crow. We're not going back to the days of segregation. We're not going back to the days when the night riders just have free reign to come inside people's houses and do what they wanted to do, with no punitive actions against them whatsoever, because they were judges, lawyers, doctors, teachers, and you name it. That's why do you think they wore hoods? You can take the hoods off now. We know who you are. There's no mystery behind it now. You can just take your hoods off and just go out there and publicly do what you do. Now let's talk about Louisiana, where black people make up roughly a third of the population, has 6 U.S. House of Representative districts. Black voters tend to vote Democratic candidates. Why, you want them to vote for y'all? Are you crazy? The black people are not going to vote for y'all en masse. They're not going to do it. You don't have our best interests at heart. You've already proven that with the governmental shutdown, with the government shutdown. It's already been proven. You can't stand us because of the pigmentation of our skin. That's one reason why when I read the Bible, I had to dissect it, because I know it was written and rewritten and transliterated by a bunch of racists. Yeah, I said it. Yes, I said it. You do not have the original manuscripts and the original context of Scripture, from the Aramaic to the Greek, from the Greek to the Hebrew. It's been transliterated too many times. And I'm not going to let no white preacher stand up there and tell me that racism was justified, because it was the white church that justified racism, and they used the white preachers to enforce it from their pulpits. And many of the so-called puritanical white racist white leaders in the church, they had slaves. They were slave owners. The Supreme Court has a 6-3 conservative majority. Now, I'm tired of this word conservative. I'm going to call them for what they are. Some of the justices voiced concern about the application of Section 2, in this case, to create a second black majority district. They like to call the opposing justices the liberal justices. No, they are opposing justices. They have a right to oppose unfair, unjustified decisions. Y'all think the word liberal is a dirty word. There's nothing wrong with the word liberal. Liberality. There's nothing wrong with those words. There's nothing conservative about the Republican Party. Nothing conservative about them. There is no conservative Republican Party anymore. It died a long time ago, and it ain't never coming back. They've gone too far into extremism, and the extremists rule the party. And some of you Republican leaders, you're so old and decrepit, you should have been out of office a long time ago. So, the justices who oppose emphasize how gutting Section 2 would sharply depart from the court's precedents, noting that the court had backed black voters in Alabama in a majority ruling concerning electoral districts less than 3 years ago. Because it was justified, that's why. Why is it that every time black people come before the Supreme Court, they get ruled against? Why even go when the fix is already in? Clarence Thomas don't do nothing for black people, and he got there through affirmative action throughout his entire career. And he's the main oppositional force against black people. When Thurgood Marshall was alive, and he was the first black Supreme Court justice, he did justifiably speak up for his own people. And that's why they don't want black people to vote in mass. They're trying to do every damnable thing to try to hinder and block and stop. Make sure when you vote, you got all your forms of ID so you can shut them down when you go into the voting booth. Make sure you got all your ID with you, because they're going to try to find an inexcusable, non-justifiable reason to stop you from voting. Make sure you're voting in the right district. Know who your congresspeople are. Know who your legislators are. Know who the ward leaders are. Know who the committee people are. Know all these things. When you see people out there with those pamphlets trying to sway you, tell them, look, take a hike. Keep it moving. You're only there working to make some money. That's all. Because there's going to be a lot of lying and stealing and wheeling and dealing going on in the midterm elections. Mark my word. People are angry. They're upset. They're going to come out in unprecedented numbers like they've never come out before. Because people are tired of going hungry. They're tired of inflation. They're tired of high gas prices. They are tired of Medicare and Medicaid being gutted. They're tired of people threatening to take their Social Security money that they worked for and justifiably should be able to receive in their retirement years. I don't hear any of those senators talking about cutting their paychecks. I don't hear any of those senators talking about getting rid of their health care benefit. None of those senators are talking about taking their food allowances, which is given to them at the taxpayer's expense. You don't have to argue with them. You don't even have to picket and demonstrate. Just vote them out of office. You can do more with your vote that sends a direct message that we're tired of it. The legislature's subsequent creation of a second black majority district to remedy the discrimination, they say, did not violate the Constitution, Nelson said. Republicans currently holding a slim majority in the U.S. House, and the decision invalidating Section 2 could benefit them. Such a decision could allow Republicans to reconfigure as many as 19 House districts, according to a report by Democratic-affiliated advocacy groups Fair Right Action and Black Voters Matters Fund. You don't have to argue with these Republicans. Let them do their damnable deeds. Just make sure that you rev up your base. Make sure that you put boots to the ground. Come back to grassroots. Support your candidates. Fight for them if you believe in them. Or else you're going to have more of the same stuff that's going on right now. And there is no remedy in sight that's coming. Let me tell you something, white America. Y'all going to feel the blunt of all this as well. Economically, it's going to hurt y'all too. And you can sit back and say, well, this is what we voted for. You're a liar. This is not what you voted for. You didn't vote for inflation. You voted because you thought that black people were going to suffer the most. That's why you voted. You voted because you hated Kamala Harris. That's why you voted. And now you're going to feel the ricochet effect in your districts, in your counties, in your food banks, in your stores, and in your neighborhoods. Your taxes are going to go up. And when you feel it, you're not going to like it. And you're going to cry out for help, and no help is going to come to you because you're the ones that did it. You're the ones that caused it to happen. So in a process called redistricting, the boundaries of legislative districts across the United States are reconfigured every decade to reflect population changes as measured by the national census. Redistricting typically is carried out by state legislators. Well, it ain't being carried out by state legislators. It's being carried out by rogue governors, corrupt governors. That's how it's being carried out. It is a weaponization against the Voting Rights Act. That's what it is. Redistricting is a weaponization against the Voting Rights Act in an attempt to stop people from their constitutional right to exercise it at the voting polls. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. He didn't lay down his life. He was assassinated for standing up for civil rights. You can have all your heroes that you want. I'll keep mine. And nobody is going to tell me. I don't care what they say about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I don't care about his private life. Just like y'all don't care about the private lives of your politicians, I don't care about the private lives of Dr. King. I care about the fact that he was an apostle of love and he did what he had to do. His personal life is his personal life. Now, you want to match personal life up against personal life? Then talk about the dirty, filthy personal lives of these hypocritical Republicans in power today. Talk about their dirty, personal, filthy lives. Since you want to try to justify it, I'm not going to let anybody tear down Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's not going to happen. Not under my watch. You want to know who I am? I'm a gatekeeper. That's who I am. I'm a voice. I'm not a politician. Don't want to be a politician. I will applaud any party if they justifiably do what was right. And it benefits the people that put them in power. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Socialist, Independent. If you're going to do what's right, I will applaud you. But I can't applaud you when you're deliberately and systematically going about trying to destroy people's rights to vote. And that's why they keep appealing and running to the Supreme Court. The Republican justices were put on there to do just what they're doing. So don't go to them looking for relief. You're not going to get it. Under the Supreme Court's precedents, Alito asked, quote, isn't seeking partisan advantage also an objective that a legislature may legitimately seek, end quote? Nelson said that it is not true if the partisan line drawing comes at the cost of the equal protection principle. All right, let's cut straight through that and put it in everyday language. You know it's a disadvantage in doing what you're doing because you want to have an advantage going into the midterm elections. Checkmate, Republicans. A lot of your Republican voters are going to vote against y'all. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, they're going to vote against you in the midterm elections. You think they're all going to vote for you, but they're going to fool your behinds when they go into the voting booth. They're going to lie to your face and tell you that they're voting for you, but when they get in there, they're going to vote against you. And y'all know I'm telling you the truth. They're going to vote against you when they get into the voting booth, and then they're going to lie and tell you, sure, I voted for you. They're going to vote your asses out of office. That's what they're going to do. They're tired of you. They're tired of the foolery. They're tired of the lying. They're tired of the hypocrisy. They're tired of the double-tongued, sided talk. They're tired of you coming with your bodyguards to town meetings with your punk selves, stand up on the stage and you talk as bold as you do because you know you got security with you. People are tired of high gas bills. They're tired of high food prices. They're tired of not being able to go to take their children out for activities after school. They're tired of being told that their vote does not matter. They're tired of the vitriol that's going on in this nation. People are tired of it. They are exhausted. They're burned out. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of a new scheme being cooked up every other day in an attempt to avert attention from themselves. So, but the redrawn map that added a second black majority district prompted a separate lawsuit by 12 Louisiana voters, no, 12 white Louisiana voters, tell it the way it is, who described themselves in court papers as non-African American. Oh, BS, you're white racist people. You're not going to use that kind of verbiage and think we can't dissect it and see through it. Non-African Americans. What, is there something wrong with being black in America? My ancestors fought and bled and died in almost every war in this nation. Non-African American. You don't have to like me because I don't like you. You see how easy that is? You can hate me all you want. Right back at you. Touche. You ain't turning the other cheek and neither am I. Now, how's that feel? Those Sunday school lessons are bow down, take low, turn the other cheek. I dismissed that stuff a long time ago. So these white voters, they can argue that the second black majority district unlawfully reduced the influence of non-black voters like them. White people make up a majority of Louisiana's population. So how are y'all being discriminated against when you are the majority down in Louisiana? How are you being discriminated against? Make it make sense, people. You're complaining because you like to moan and complain. You're complaining because you don't want black people to come out and vote en masse. And then when another hurricane comes through there and tears it up, then you'll be talking about, well, we're all human, we're all one. Well, why can't you all be one now? Why does it take devastation, calamity, catastrophic occurrences to bring unity to human beings who were created in the image of Almighty God? The plausibility factor of individuals standing on the sidelines, looking out because they're marginalized, it doesn't pass the smell test. They're just whining and complaining. So the redrawn map relied too heavily on race in violation of the equal protection principle. A 3-judge panel found in a 2-to-1 ruling prompted the appeal to the Supreme Court because you didn't get the satisfaction in your local state Supreme Court, so you're going to the Supreme Court and you want them to rule on your side. Justice Elena Kagan tried to focus the arguments on the real-world impact of a decision gutting Section 2. Kagan asked Nelson what would happen if Section 2 ceased to operate to prevent vote dilution in redistricting. All right, let's reverse it. Suppose it was black people going to the Supreme Court arguing the same plausibility factor. And they put in there that they were that they were coming against, they put inside the argument, like the white people put, they were not, let me pull that back up because I want to quote that directly. And they describe themselves as non-African American. Well, suppose black people put in there that they're non-white Americans. And they argued the same thing. I'll bet you the Supreme Court would rule against them and would not rule in their favor. Because the fix is always already in. The fix is in even before you get there. The fix is in. If you don't think I know what I'm talking about, let me tell you something as a law major, criminal justice major. From somebody who had to be falsely accused, falsely arrested, falsely convicted, falsely tried, and left to die. But what they didn't count on me studying law when I was in prison. What they didn't count on me finding the corruption that occurred in the case. What they didn't count on me becoming an attorney and becoming a criminal justice advocate, fighting for true victims of crime and fighting for those who have been wrongfully convicted. Don't let injustice happen to you and don't take it laying down, because that's what they want. Now, are there people in prison who justifiably belong in prison? The answer is yes. I'm not talking about that group. There are people who have committed some heinous, terrible crimes, and they deservedly belong in prison for the rest of their lives. But then in the haste to convict people, you convict a lot of innocent people at the same time, then say, well, we don't give a damn about it. Let the system take its course. And I feel for individuals and their families who are true victims of crime. One of the reasons why I'm becoming an attorney, so I can fight for true victims of crime and bring the culprits to justice for the criminal acts that they commit. Somebody has to be an unpaid, true advocate fighting for everyday people in this nation. It's not about fame. It's not about headlines. It's not about making money. It's not about buying a bunch of expensive clothes and living in a big house. It is fighting for everyday people. That's what advocacy is about. I don't come on here to look cute. I come on here because when I have something to say, it's important. So redistricting is something that's going to affect everybody, because when the next party comes into power, they're going to reverse everything that has been done. You got to get to a point in America, these parties have got to stop fighting one another and learn how to work together. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, they sent you to Washington to problem solve. They didn't send you to Washington to argue and cuss and fuss each other out. They didn't send you to Washington to be bought and paid for through lobbying. They did not send you to Washington to vote against their best interests. They sent you there because they believed the lies that you told them when you were on the campaign trail. So the United States has racial diversity in political leadership, quote, because of litigation that forced the creation, end quote, of black majority districts, Nelson said. You wouldn't have to have any black majority districts if everything would have been even from day one. Quote, if it happens to be that people of one race or another race overwhelmingly prefer one of the political parties, does that transform the situation into racial voting, or is it still just partisan voting? Alito asked Nelson. Well, I can answer that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to answer this question. People have the right to vote for whoever they want to vote for. Point blank. People can vote for whoever they want to vote for. Nobody should be forced to vote for anybody if they don't want to vote for them. Just like I tell people all the time, you have a right to your opinion, but you don't have a right to incite violence with your opinion. You don't have the right to advocate hurting people through your opinions. You don't have the right to attempt to destroy somebody's life through your constitutional opinion. You don't have a right for that. You don't have a right to systematically go about spitting out all types of verbiage out of your mouth simply because you don't like somebody. And then when somebody does the same thing to you, then you want to cry foul. Well, the same constitutional rights that you have to spew out your verbiage, people have the same constitutional right to give a counterattack against what you're spewing out of your mouth. It can't be one-sided. One group of people don't get to say everything they want to say, and nobody can retort against them. No, it doesn't go like that. You should vote your party. Whatever party you want, if you want to vote for your party, you vote for your party. If you want to split your ticket, you split your ticket. If you don't like your party and you want to go to a different party, that is your right. I will vote for any candidate that is going to stand up and be fair and just and honest and do what they say they're going to do. I wouldn't care what party they belong to. If they're going to really fight for people and they're going to really do what they say and they're going to really be fair and objective and making their decisions, I'd vote for that candidate. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, etc. I will vote for the person, male or female, that's going to do right by people. I feel people's pain. I feel what they go through. So we got to get it together. The fact that black voters may correlate with voting Democrat or white voters may correlate with voting Republican does not deny the fact that there is racially polarized voting, Nelson said. Nelson said that the fact that no black candidate has ever been elected to a statewide offices, talking about down Louisiana, is an additional indication that, quote, race is playing an outsized role in the electoral process in Louisiana, close quote. Well, I somewhat disagree with that statement. I'll tell you the reason why. Because people will vote for a candidate, regardless of the color of their skin, if they believe that candidate is the one that's going to get the job done. The Supreme Court heard arguments for the second time this year in the case. It also did so in March, but then in June, sidestepped a decision and ordered another round of arguments. Why? You want to tell me that's not partisan favoritism there? Why? Why would the Supreme Court argument for the second time? Then you heard it in March. Then in June, you sidestepped it, the decision, and you want another round of arguments. Who stands to benefit from another round of arguments? That's why everything has to be dissected. The state of Louisiana initially had appealed the 3-judge panel's ruling and argued in March on the same side as the black voters, but it has now changed its stance and is urging the justices to forbid race-conscious map drawing altogether. Really? Is that what y'all want to call it? Race-conscious map drawing? No, it's called bigoted, racist map drawing. That's what it's called. And I will tell all of you all, if you don't like what your politicians are doing, vote them out of office. It's just that simple. You put them there, take them out. Take them out of office. Just vote them out of office if you don't like what they're doing. Race-based districting is fundamentally contrary to our Constitution. Benjamin Aguinaga, the Republican Solicitor General of Louisiana, told the justices, dude, I don't believe a word of what you wrote or said out of your mouth. You know, in Philadelphia, when I was growing up, they used to have great fights in city council. When parties opposed one another, they would just go ahead and fight. They didn't care about all this fancy tried and double talk, because they just had real people who were council people in city council. I'll tell you about the power of unification when they built the gallery, the original gallery that's now called the Fashion District, when they built the gallery and they said that no black people could shop or work there, and black folks said if we can't shop or work there, there will be no gallery, and they shut it down. And those of you that are from Philadelphia and you're from that area, you know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm not lying and making it up. The civil rights activists and civil rights leaders in Philadelphia, they fought vigorously, they fought hard. And now Philadelphia's gotten to the point, they don't care if you're a black person or a white person as the mayor. Are you going to do the job for the people? If Mayor Parker's mayoral reign is not what people think it is, they're going to vote her out of office in next term. I'm not voting color. That time is over. I'm voting for people that have some sense. I'm voting for people. You don't have to be perfect, but you got to have some decency about you. I'm voting for candidates that are going to say what they're going to do and do what they say. And I'm going to tell you all something. You may disagree with me or not. Donald Trump is doing everything that he said that he was going to do. Kept telling you all that Project 2025 was a real thing. It was architecturally designed to do just what it's doing today. And you can't get mad for a candidate when he told you on the presidential campaign field, he made it crystal clear that he was not going to reveal all his plans. He kept them to himself, but he knew what he was going to do. And some of you candidates need to take note from the Republicans. Stop blabbing everything out all the time. You talk too much. Stop talking all the time. Just speak in terms only. Don't tell everything out there for the press to put in the paper. Don't let your enemies know what you're doing. Candidates, hint, hint, read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. If you can't read it, listen to it. The Art of War. Listen to it. Read the book. I listen to it all the time. The Art of War. It's about mind strategy. And then you can come back and start winning major elections. Read 48 Laws of Power. Bowman. It's by Robert Greene. What do you know about that? I found it in the prison library. That's where I found it. What? Yep. Sure enough did. I read it from cover to cover. Enjoyed it. And we'll read it again. Read Mein Kampf. Understand the ideology and the mindset of why Hitler came into power. Learn how to read. Stop letting people do your reading for you. Stop letting AI, the artificial intelligence factor, rule your mind. You have a mind. Your mind is powerful. Your mind is creative. Your mind is productive. You have the intuitiveness to get out there and do things. And if you don't like the way things are running in government, then why don't you run for office? Show them how it's done. Kagan told Aquanaga that his argument, quote, have been specifically rejected by this court over many decades and 3 years ago, end quote. Republican President Donald Trump's administration supports the challenge to the Voting Rights Act on separate legal grounds. Justice Department lawyer Hashim Mupan told the justices that the Constitution is colorblind. The Constitution is colorblind? Since when? If the Constitution is colorblind, why are they trying to change the Constitution? I said, if the Constitution is colorblind, why do they keep trying to subvert it and change it? If you want to deal with the original intent of the framers of the Constitution, then deal with the original intent. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Constitution, he wrote it with his mind being an Enlightenment thinker. The Supreme Court's 2013 ruling in a case involving Alabama's Shelby County gutted a Voting Rights Act provision that had required states and locals with a history of racial discrimination to get federal approval to change voting laws. The court, however, ruled in a 5-4 ruling in 2023 that a Republican-drawn electoral map in Alabama violated Section 2, siding with black voters who had challenged the map and had sought an additional black majority congressional district. Roberts and Kavanaugh joined the court's 3 liberals to form a majority. Districts should be based upon the people who live in them, period. Why do you always have to constantly redraw stuff? For what purpose? Unless you're corrupt. Unless you fear the opposition voting against you. The Supreme Court is expected to rule by the end of June. So this is real. Think about it. Appreciate you all in the comment section hanging in there with me today. Covered a lot of ground, and there are a lot of things and I just want to make this announcement as I get ready to wrap it up for today. Ladies and gentlemen, think about helping me to build a studio, Tyrone Bowman Live Studio. So now, let me turn my camera around. I want you all to see what I'm working with here. Because see, y'all might think this is a joke. You see this? I'm just going to this is my homemade studio. This is what a brother is working with. That's all. That's all I'm working with. But I need to get it to become more professional looking, decency, decorum. And all I'm asking people to do is simply cash app $1. That's it. There are over 2,000 subscribers on my channel. If just 1,000 people would cash app $1, we could get a lot done. Just think about helping us to get equipment, get a computer, all the stuff that we need. So I can really interview the movers and shakers in society and bring them on Tyrone Bowman Live. I'll bring them on from both parties. It doesn't matter with me. I want to hear what's on the minds of people. I want to hear what the political candidates have to say. I want to hear what the advocates have to say. And I want to be able to connect with my people in the music and entertainment industry and bring your favorite entertainers on my program. But I can't bring them on this shabby stuff here that we're working with. So consider about Cash Apping a brother $1. I already, for my first donation, we got it yesterday. I already sent it to the graphic designer. I called him personally last night when I got off air, and I told him I said, stay on the phone while I send you this money. I sent it to him. I'm a man of my word. This money is not for me. I have a job. I'm cool. I want to make sure we can build the things that we want to build. So if you want to help us, you want to help me do it, it's Tyrone B. Bowman Sr. My cash app is $Pixel4. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to go for now. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. Always remember, I love you all, whether you all love me or not. That's why I don't censor nobody on my channel. You know, I don't censor anybody. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, MAGA. I don't care if you KKK, Proud Boys, White Boys. I don't care if you all hate me. It's all cool. That's what free speech is about. Never surrender. Never quit.